Off-campus scenes that went further than expected. You think you know what you signed up for when you hit play on a college dramedy, right? Cute friendships, awkward parties, a little romance sprinkled on top like seasoning. Then off-campus comes along and suddenly the seasoning becomes the whole meal, and viewers everywhere are sitting up straight, pausing, rewinding, and texting their group chat. Did you see that scene? Today we are breaking down the moments from this Prime Video series that pushed past the expected and into territory that had everyone talking. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why this show became the internet's favorite obsession seemingly overnight. Let's set the scene, pun fully intended. Off-campus was pitched as your classic college ensemble story, friends navigating school, secrets, and self-discovery. That is the trailer. That is the poster. That is what you tell your parents you are watching. But somewhere between episode 1 and episode 3, the writers decided subtlety was for other shows, and they leaned into tension like a final exam you absolutely did not study for. The chemistry between the leads stopped feeling like acting and started feeling like something the camera crew probably needed a minute to recover from. Think of it like ordering a mild salsa and getting handed something that makes your eyes water. You were warned it had some kick, but nobody told you it would rearrange your entire face. That is off-campus in a nutshell. The marketing said slow burn, the actual show said why wait. Now, let's talk about the moments themselves, because this is where things get interesting. There is a particular hallway scene that fans have practically turned into a religious text, dissecting every glance, every pause, every line delivery like it is hiding the secrets of the universe. What starts as a simple conversation about borrowed notes turns into something with so much unspoken tension, you could cut it with a butter knife. And the editing team knew exactly what they were doing, lingering just a beat too long, letting the silence do the heavy lifting. That is not accidental. That is craftsmanship dressed up as innocence. Then there is the now infamous party sequence, the one clip that practically broke social media the week it dropped. What begins as typical chaotic college nonsense, red cups, bad music, someone definitely about to regret their life choices, shifts into a moment between two characters that the internet collectively decided was way more intense than the script probably promised on paper. Fans were not just watching, they were analyzing camera angles like detectives at a crime scene, convinced the actors were given more freedom in the moment than the original scene description ever suggested. Here is the thing about chemistry like this. You cannot fake it convincingly enough to fool millions of viewers. Either it is there or the internet smells the fraud immediately, and trust me, this fanbase has the nose of a bloodhound for anything inauthentic. So when clip compilations started racking up views faster than the show's own trailer, that told you everything. Audiences were not just watching a story unfold. They were watching two actors generate a spark that the writer's room probably did not fully anticipate when they typed up the outline. And let's give credit where it is due. The cast deserves applause for walking that tightrope. Performing scenes this charged requires trust, timing, and the kind of comfort that does not happen by accident. It takes rehearsal, communication, and honestly a little bit of fearlessness, because going further than expected on camera means going further than expected in front of millions of strangers with opinions. That is a pressure cooker most of us would crumble under, yet the cast handled it with the kind of ease that makes it look effortless, which ironically is the hardest thing to pull off. What makes this even juicier is the timing. The show dropped in a streaming landscape absolutely flooded with content, where viewers scroll past 100 thumbnails before committing to anything. For off-campus, to cut through that noise and become a trending topic practically overnight, the material had to do more than just exist. It had to demand attention. And nothing demands attention quite like a scene that makes you immediately screenshot, send, and caption it with way too many exclamation points. Of course, this raises the bigger question every entertainment fan loves to chew on. Was this a calculated decision by the creators to generate buzz, or did the chemistry simply take on a life of its own during filming? Honestly, it is probably both. Smart producers know exactly what keeps an audience hooked, but you cannot manufacture genuine spark. You can only create the conditions for it to happen, and then get out of the way. Off-campus seemed to do exactly that, blending intentional storytelling with organic, electric performances that no script note alone could have produced. So, where does this leave the show moving forward? If these earlier moments were already pushing boundaries this far, the anticipation for what comes next is basically through the roof. Fans are not just hoping for more story, they're hoping for more of that unpredictable, electric energy that made the first run impossible to look away from. And streaming platforms absolutely notice when a show generates this kind of organic word of mouth, because that is the holy grail of content, the kind nobody can buy with advertising dollars. At the end of the day, Off Campus proved that you do not need a massive budget or flashy special effects to capture an audience completely. Sometimes all it takes is real chemistry, sharp writing, and the courage to go a little further than expected.
What Belmont Cameli and Ella Bright did before filming that nobody knew about. Okay, so here is a question nobody has been asking but absolutely should be. How do you manufacture the kind of chemistry that makes 36 million people stop everything and binge an entire season in one sitting? How do two strangers show up on a set, look at each other, and make the whole world feel like they are watching something completely and utterly real? Because that electric, undeniable rewind the scene 4 times energy between Ella Bright and Belmont Cameli and Off Campus did not fall out of the sky. There was a process. There was preparation. There was a whole secret world of behind-the-scenes work that happened before a single camera rolled. And today we are pulling back the curtain on all of it. Welcome back to Crown Influence. Let us start at the very beginning because the origin story of this pairing is genuinely one of the most cinematic things about the whole off-campus saga, and this is a show that already has plenty of cinematic moments to choose from. The day of the chemistry reads, there were approximately 28 actors in that building. 28 people walking through the same door, sitting across from Ella Bright, and trying to create something real with someone they had never met in their lives. 28 attempts at magic. And when Belmont Cameli walked into that room, both of them knew almost immediately that something was different. Ella described the scene as genuine and real and intense. Belmont said it was readily apparent that something special was going on. 28 actors. Readily apparent. That is not an audition story. That is a love story that started before the cameras even turned on. But here is the thing about chemistry. Feeling it in a room for 20 minutes during an audition and then sustaining it across 8 episodes of emotionally demanding, intensely intimate television are 2 completely different things. One is instinct. The other is work. And the off-campus cast put in some serious, unglamorous, deeply committed work before production ever began. The kind of work that never makes it into the press junkets but is responsible for every